Welcome back to another edition of the supporters stream. I probably shouldn't move my thing because it was set up just fine in the article view that we need. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me unmute the guests before I forget. Experimenting with a new background back there, and I just need to get the lighting more balanced and figured out, but we'll get there eventually. I think some of it might actually be the front lighting now is too high for the back lighting to actually show up. So, but we'll figure it out. I'll play around with it a little bit. This is an alternative to the green screen, so you don't see I'm in like this van life thing, but I want it to be some nice coloration back there. I'll work on it, figure it out. Maybe buy some more, cheap light kits from Walmart or something. Who knows? But how's everybody doing?
I'm doing fine.
Everybody's speaking out, so. Salve, what's going on your way?
I'm doing fine. I just had some dinner or supper.
I mean, the Joe Biden's administration will be very pleased that I used solar to cook my dinner today. I did not have to run my gas stove much. I did actually cook my tortilla wrap on a gas stove. Sorry, Mr. President. But I did have to run my gas stove for that. If you are unaware of what I'm talking about, the Biden administration is now trying to ban gas stoves.
He'd much rather people use secret documents to heat up places.
Yeah, but I am making both Biden and Greta Thunberg happy in that I cooked today a lovely cheesesteak wrap, mostly in the solar oven. And so I was able to actually get everything all fried up very nicely in the solar, which is good. We're on the way back up. I actually pulled in about 1 kilowatt of power today. So I pulled in more power than in the past, and I drove way longer yesterday than I had thought I would have to. So I pretty much charged my batteries to 100% capacity. I think I was probably at like 80% or so. And so I'm actually doing pretty good on power today, although we're still going to preserve it because if I think I have enough power, I'm going to try and get a video pushed out for Saturday as well. Try and get more good videos out. Right now, with everything on, I'm still reporting 13.3 volts, which is above the 80% mark. So we're doing pretty good. But we're not going to waste the power. We shall not waste it. Let's jump in on our comments here. Well, hold on real quick. Ivan, how's it going your way? You have a special present
not
coming.
Too bad. Absolutely.
Did you want to talk about the special present coming?
I've got.
Not yet?
Yeah, sure. I've got a Ghostbusters Proton Pack coming across the country. It's just about to leave Oklahoma. It's coming from Chino, California.
Well, he's had to stop in Oklahoma to get some ghost out of there, whatever,
Yeah, he had to make a stop in Somerville, I think. And I did check that there is no town named Somerville for real, but that town is up in British Columbia, so they're a little off the route.
Well, whatever city.
Oh my God, it's got to go through customs.
Yeah, whatever city it says it's in down there, Google it with ghosts or something and see if you can get any information about any possible ghosts that's wrapping up down there.
There we go.
Dan, how's it going your way?
Pretty good.
All right. How's the weather? It's bright and sunny all day. It was about 65. Although I'm in the Sonora Desert and it never really freezes here, but it does get pretty close. And so it was 12 C in here when I got up this morning, which is pretty cold. But I just endured through it. Put on some longer clothes while it warmed up, and then it got up to like 28 in here. As the temperature out here got to be 65, 70 or so.
The sun, what's that?
Pretty good. I know, right? It's something that is down here in the Sonora
Desert. I haven't seen it in weeks.
Yeah, but
it's an old myth.
Yeah. Rick is here as well, but he's having issues with the microphone. So if he gets that resolved, we'll let him go ahead and jump on. Good to see you, Rick. Hopefully you can get that microphone issue resolved. It's something with Chromium on that. If you're running something and you could install, like I know Firefox doesn't really work well with Jitsi, but if you're running like a Linux or something with Flatpak, try out the Jitsi Flatpak application. But that is certainly something to do. We're going to while I am out here in the Sonora Desert, I just want everybody to be aware. I am taking advice of the National Park Service. I am not going to be licking any hallucinogenic toads. These do live in the Sonora Desert where I'm at. See, it does tell us right here, the Sonoran Desert toad, the Colorado River toad is the name of this guy. It does live out here, and if I happen to see one, I am not going to lick the toads. Just so you guys know. I did play with some tarantulas out here in the desert a couple weeks ago. That was a lot of fun and things like that. So I'm just informing you guys, if you do make your way down here to the desert as well, don't lick the toads because that's that. All right, checking in on our comments. We got 14 watching on the 2Bs. Spying and Microsoft, one of the 2 endorsements out of the blue from professionals. Wouldn't dream of using Windows today, I know, right? 619 OTA. Smash that thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you. And Anchorage is here. That is Ivan's channel, right? The Anchorage, if you want to check out his channel. Remind me before the end, and I'll if anybody has ways to people can reach out, let me remind me to do that. Commodore fan, your aunt passed away. I'm really sorry about that, man. Yeah, that's really sad. And we wish you the best and as the funeral goes, we'll be with you. All right, man. Sorry about that. Let's see. It's minus 10 to your social credit score for your gas oven usage. Now you must hold your breath 120 seconds offset. But, I mean, you understand, all I did is cook the flour tortilla on the gas stove today. That's all I did. Well, I mean, I did cook my bacon and eggs this morning. That's like immediate, what is it, minus 500 because I wasn't eating bugs. And I was eating this high-fat food that's definitely going to kill everybody around them. It reminds me of a meme I saw. I don't know. Oh, I think it was a meme that was on Zeducation. If you haven't seen Zeducation's channel, it's pretty fun. It's basically, he just does conservative memes as his whole thing. It says, this was actually posted on Nextdoor, which we talked about on the latest Tinfoil Hat Time episode. Disrespecting vegan radius. Last night around 18:30 p.m., we spotted our neighbors in their yard barbecuing what looked like raw flesh. We are vegan. And then, of course, they complained, but nobody cared.
Yeah, so you've been a bad boy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I had anti-vegan. I mean, I had a little bit of fruit today, but for the most part, it was pig corpses and aborted chicken fetuses is what I had today. So, and cooked on gas. So I am definitely going to hell here. Let's see. I don't like it when you share with others on live. Don't like when you share with others on live. What? Who? I don't know. Being faced with my family having to battle Windows 8 was a real push for Mint Mate. Very good. Let's see. I needed to be familiar and not have an ever morphing user interface every 6 months to confuse them. There you go. We all know you licked the toad and had a good trip. Come on, man. All right. Learning about the Great Reset dystopian thank you. Somebody can say that word for me. Technocracy, whatever. Convinced me. And that's really where I'm at. I couldn't afford the bills, the Bill Gates. Hello, Dakota Rustler. Greetings. Let's see. We have 15 currently watching over on Odyssey. So comments over on Odyssey. Privacy, Windows 10, Curiosity. Linux will teach you that for sure, and it's very usable. I hope the kitty is okay. Hey, the kitty is okay. I mean, the kitty is in a galaxy far, far away and enjoying his life, eating those toads with whatever those little creatures are in Star Wars. He did usurp Jabba the Hutt. So, my gas stove runs on cow farts. There you go. I believe a farmer actually created a tractor that runs on cow manure. So it's like, okay. Live down here.
I remember during the Second World War, there were several cars in, at least in Norway, who ran on firewood and coal and so on.
I actually heard somebody. I don't remember if it was Louis Rossmann or somebody else. Actually, was speculating on cold weather Teslas and things. So, being from there, what is a lot of people use electric cars or not, and does the cold weather affect battery efficiency? Is it something you see a lot?
Most of the new cars that are sold are electric cars, and those who buy them are generally satisfied. But they are, at least in the winter, the range is effectively cut in half during some days because we had a few weeks of negative 20 degrees centigrade, about -1 or 2 Fahrenheit. And in those calls, range is not what you're getting of electric vehicles. Whereas a petrol or a diesel powered car, they use the same amount of fuel regardless of the weather, and it also happens to heat your car. So,
yeah. Let's see. We have 10 watching over on Rumble. We had 11 a moment ago. Devoured Eagles over there. Greetings, everybody. Love Zed. Haven't been watching in a while, though. Oh, you can go back. They're doing a new segment, Ask Tyler. Or is it Ask Zed? I forget. Salbu's over there over on Twitch. Greetings, Salbu. And
hello.
Nobody over on the Lost Stepchild. We do have a... Oh, I got to open the chat. There you go. We do have a live chat going on Locals, which is a supporter only right now, although we really need to get that community going because there's nobody over there right now. So everyone's over here enjoying the rest of us where there's like conversation going on. We'll have to take something like super amazing and super secret, super private over there for all the supporters over on Locals. All right, so let's go ahead and get on into our basic topics. I kind of wanted to keep it easy in response to walking through the desert yesterday and recording the fun video about slowly switching to Linux. I thought, let's go ahead and review this again for the new viewers. I think we've probably talked about this in the past. So we're going to talk about, I want to do it in parts, so don't spill all the beans of everything all at once. The first basic question is when. We don't want to know which distro or whatever else, but when did you first use Linux, and what caused you to look into it? I guess we'll start with that. Salbu, we'll start with you because I have you on right now.
Yeah, my start was, it was my first test. It was in 1998, and it was in a local gas station in the old city, in Trondheim. There's a gas station almost downtown, and it had, at least at the time, it had a few shelves of magazines and comic books and so on. Several of the magazines were computer magazines. And I remember one of them had on the front cover, it said, it was in Norwegian, but it said a real 32-bit free operating system. And that intrigued me, so I had to buy the magazine. And here I am.
Okay, good. And we'll get back to what distro that was in a bit. Dan, what about you? When did you first and why did you first look at Linux?
I first looked at Linux back in 2007. It was like more of a curiosity thing. And I wound up using some stuff called Apache, and I actually made a Linux server from my house. And I used that for a while, and I really didn't have a whole bunch to serve on a server, so I set that aside. And Windows still was king for me then because of all the Windows software that I have purchased.
Okay, yep. And Ivan, when did you first look at Linux and why?
It was October of 1997, and it was because of work. We were primarily Windows, but we had a connection to a Linux server to do Linux-y type things in it, very minimally.
Mm-hmm.
Just drawing reports, DB access, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Very good. I guess, I mean, saying that, I didn't actually really think about it, but yeah, actually that was the very first time I had any experience at all, albeit almost none, and that would have been 2010. One of the projects, one of the early projects I had when I first left teaching and was doing front-end UI UX work for a company. I actually assembled those, the Megan's Law newsletters. So if you signed up for the newsletter to get the the list of children bad people in your area, and you would get those emails. I was actually putting together those emails for the company, which back then doing that type of email design stuff was a royal pain. But we had a staging and a live server, so I had to log in with PuTTY on my little Windows 7 machine to do that. Albeit I didn't really do anything with it. I didn't know anything about it. So I'd say my real first time was probably been about 2 or 3 years later. I had this old compact computer that was built with a really bad design, and if you so much as moved it, like they literally, it was a single molded container, and the hard drive was plugged directly into that, and so anything that would touch the computer case would send that shock directly into the drive, and that thing burnt through like 2 or 3 hard drives in a matter of just a few months. And so eventually I'm like, can you put Windows on an external drive? Because I figured I'd have better luck with an external drive. Well, I couldn't, but I found this stupid thing called Ubuntu. You download it, and it's like, well, that's really? Okay. And so I download Ubuntu and put it on. I'm like, this is kind of cool, you know? And so it would have been that. I got ahead of myself, so I'll just talk briefly about that, and then we'll jump into which distro you guys use. So that would have been my first distro, because I had 2 computers set up as I was doing academic software sales. And that computer actually staged all my back-end notes, whereas my other computer, I was doing all the front-end stuff that the people I was on the phone with was able to see. I'm showing my desktop and showing the professors how to use the software, and I'd be taking notes with Salesforce and stuff on the other one. All that stuff worked great on Ubuntu. I'm like, oh, man, this is kind of cool. I don't have to go on the internet and download weird stuff. I just download it from this. It was really cool. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat. Of course, I forgot about it a little bit later. We'll get more into that later. But that was my first as Ubuntu. So, Ivan, what was your first? Okay, never mind. Everybody just hold tight while we get our system reset here, because apparently my server has decided to disconnect itself. All right. Okay, well, let's go back and have a brief look at our comments. Diversity is our greatest asset, unless you're trying to avoid electric. There you go, all right? First tried it out around 2017. All right, let's go and join the meeting. Wow, we had like quadruple levels. All right, are we back? Well, Solbu's back. Solbu, what was your first Linux distro?
My first distro was on the CD that came with that magazine. It was SUSE 5.2. It was not OpenSUSE, that didn't exist yet. It was SUSE, and it was a German company at the time, state-sponsored. But yeah, that was my first try, and I used it for maybe a day.
Very good. Ivan, let's see.
Yeah.
Wait, where you are? There you are. Whoa,
yeah,
hold on.
Here.
Hold on. Rick's got microphone. How's it going, Rick?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Yeah, we
how's
can
it
hear
going?
you.
You're right. The flat pack worked.
Yeah,
I to use a microphone and camera. So
yeah, I figured it was the Chromium issue. How's things going up your way? How cold is it up there?
about minus 10 C.
Yikes.
A little cooler. It was right around freezing. We've had weird weather the last 10 years. It has a deep freeze in the fall, like 20, 30 below. And then January it started melting. Crazy. So
Wow.
Where are you?
Toasty for us up here.
Oh,
We don't get cold till it's about minus 40.
oh, yeah, this is true. This is true. Up there in the Great White North, if you guys don't know. So you want to tell us your basic, when did you first use Linux? And I guess you can jump right into which one it was, too.
I think it was Raspberry Pi.
Oh, fun.
So I got interested playing around with that. My son was interested in it. He set up a robot and he programmed the Raspberry Pi. So I had a look at it, put in Raspbian and played with it for a while. And I was on Windows 7 transitioning to 10.
Mm-hmm.
I tried fighting the move to 10 and I kept deleting that automatic upgrade. I went into the registry and deleted that, and it kept popping back like a bad nightmare. And so finally I had an extra machine, and I can't remember how. Somehow I came across, trying to think what distribution, probably Mint. I think I was probably looking in the forums, and so I installed Mint on a second machine and use two separate machines for a while. And what made me switch, actually, I'm not really a gamer. The only game I played was World of Warcraft
Mm-hmm.
with my grandkids. And once that was done, like, I don't use GIMP. I like to learn. I don't use LibreOffice. I just use a text editor.
Mm-hmm.
And since I switched to Linux, I play around with scripts and stuff. I was just listening to Joe Collins is back online, and nice to see him.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Nice.
So gradually, I made the switch to put Linux on my main machine. It has an old NVIDIA card,
Mm-hmm.
and it was supported. And I had to use the cool bits, edit the config file.
Mm-hmm.
But after I did that, it's now it updates the NVIDIA card, and it's an old 1050 Ti.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't play really many games. I play some tanks on Steam, tank battles on Steam. But since then, I haven't missed Windows 10 at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still sitting in the drawer here in case I ever need it. But if I need Windows, I got grandkids that have Windows. So
Yeah, there you go. I still
there
have
is
a
a
hard.
few.
Mhm.
There is a few disadvantages. Like if you get the Garmin GPS,
Mm-hmm.
the updates are only available with Windows machine.
I've seen that before. I have not tried those in wine. I don't know if anybody has or not, but
I
Yeah.
have a Garmin
I've
unit,
tried
and,
those in a virtual machine.
how do they work? I assume virtual machine would be fine.
It worked
okay.
pretty good. Actually, you got to patch it through a USB cable to your Garmin,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got VirtualBox open. Go to the USB tab at the top and acknowledge to your machine that device is connected to your
Okay.
Windows virtual machine, and then you can work back and forth with it.
Yeah. Anyway, really, I don't have any major things holding me to Windows, and I enjoy learning
Mm-hmm.
Linux much more. I can play around with this system, and I have a bunch of crappy old computers, single core, double core, and I got 3 or 4 around here, and I can throw a distro on each one of them and
Mm-hmm.
play with it, and if I crash it, I don't care. I
Yeah,
use
there you go.
my main machine
you
for-
sound like me. I am the same. I have a few computers, many of them who are old, and in today's kids, it is not good for anything. But for what I'm using it for, it's plenty fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do little servers and media servers and stuff like that.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
on normal desktop. I just don't do gaming that requires the latest
Yeah.
2 years.
Let's jump back to Ivan and ask again which distro was that, unless we'll crash again.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's all Ivan's fault.
I know. It's like I breathe in and dies.
That's right.
Oh, there's Dan. If I'm thinking correctly, at the time it was Solaris, and we just did it through a terminal emulator, so it was all command line, and the applications or the programs that we used were all command line based. We called it OH menu,
Mm-hmm.
and it was all data entry that I was doing
Mm-hmm.
at the time, but we ran reports off of DB Access, so I was querying things and not even knowing what it was I was doing, and then I learned what that was, and and just continued to use that same software that we were using all the way until like 2013, when I moved over to QA, and I dabbed a little bit on my own. I think I had a copy of Red Hat back in like 2000, but when I finished installing it, it was all command line, and I didn't even know simple commands like ls. I had no idea what that meant. I mean, yeah, it was like looking at my.
Wow. See, Ivan did it again. He caused us to crash again. All right. Well, we're waiting for that to reload. We'll head on back to, let's see. We'll head on back over here and look at more comments. Let's see. Zorin, Ubuntu, Fedora, Garuda, Arco have all been daily drivers. Okay, remember back then. It's I think it's all Ivan's fault. I think we're coming back. Hold on just a second. It's all Ivan's fault, see? I'm going to try something, guys. I'm going to turn off my camera on Jitsi just in case it's like a bandwidth thing. And actually, this is the first time, though, that we've actually had people show up, which we think it's bandwidth. So I actually have a lot more bandwidth here in the middle of the Sonora Desert than I've had.
Oh, everybody go check their performance setting and cut it back.
Yeah, I just cut mine down, and I turned off my cameras. I want to just experiment, see if that causes things to go better, or, you know, who knows? Maybe we're crashing the server. Who knows? 4 people, limit to my Jitsi server. Well, I think the problem is we have a couple WordPress sites and also on this server, and so WordPress now is like, it went from literally in 2 years needing no more than 32 megabytes of RAM of PHP memory up to 256. Like, what? And so I think it's causing a lot of problems on servers. And of course, now cPanel's jacking up their prices. Basically, the internet's going to collapse if we keep on pushing all this nonsense that we're doing. But WordPress is at the head of it. So anyway.
I remember when 32 megabytes of RAM was, if you had the 32 megabytes of RAM in your computer, you are the king of the street.
Yeah. But for a long time, WordPress ran perfectly fine. I never had to mess with PHP servers, kept that memory down, no problems at all. Now, actually, on my servers, I'm having blog posts miss the schedules, just all sorts of issues popping up because WordPress is running out of memory. And so it's causing a lot of servers to max out and stuff like that. So things I need to look into. Anyway, Ivan, you want to get back, or are you going to crash the system again?
Yeah, I'm going to summarize the rest of it. Yeah. In 14, I moved to the area where I'm at right now, and I went Linux crazy. I was working on Windows 7, and I had 2 computers, actually 3. Moved those over to Linux Mint and Ubuntu, and I had another computer that is up there that I had Zorin on for a little bit for a Minecraft server, and when it did that for years, and then came to the realization I should probably have a little variety. So in the past couple of years, you know, I've got my daily driver, which is this machine that we're on right now. Mm-hmm. And then I've got a separate machine that's got Windows on it for my video editing and things of that sort. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't be happier. I've got everything is got where it needs to be. I've got my important stuff on this machine, and I've got my fun stuff on the other machine, video, and my World of Warcraft. And it's like that can stay over there. Keep that separate. There you go. Yeah. So that's pretty much. Well, then of course I've got my Chromebook. I turned into a Mint book, but I've got a video on that. And but outside of all that, I'm happy hunky-dory with what I've got, and I don't have any complaints.
There you go. Dan, what was your first distro?
Well, the first one I made the server with was OpenSUSE or SUSE or whatever they called back then. I think it was owned by Novell back then. And yeah, I played with it for a while, but after that, I had stepped away from that and went Linux free for a while until I moved here.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want me to tell you about that, if you want me to go on or wait to another turn.
We'll wait on that one. I want to get to some comments as well. But for me, after my brief run with the academic software sales stuff, I did kind of forget about that Ubuntu. It sat in a little closet for a while, forgot all about it until that news announcement of Windows 10 came out. And I start reading through this going, what the hell? No, you're not. No, you're not. No, I'm not sending my data. No, I'm not permanently tying OneDrive. No, what the hell are you doing? And so I have never used Windows 10 on anything more than jumping onto it for, testing something for somebody, anything like that. Never used it. Never used Windows 11 until 2 weeks ago when I was doing some back-end work for that one group, and that's what they had on their computers. It's like, you're gonna make me touch Windows 11?
Unclean.
Yeah, but so I was like, you know what? I remember that thing in my closet. Let me go find that. Of course, it didn't work, so I had to download a new version. I think that was Ubuntu 11. Because I did subsequently find the install disk, which I think I still have for archival purposes. But I think the first one I was running was an alpha version of 1604 was the first time I was booting Ubuntu nearly every day. So at that time, this was right before I started the Switch to Linux channel. I booted up my Windows 7 computer, which was my main web design work. I booted up an Ubuntu computer and moved that to be watching videos or do basic behind the scenes things. And then I actually had a Mac computer over there as well. So I'd go into my office in the morning and turn on all three computers. So I had Windows, Linux, and Mac all running at the same time. And that way I could jump back and forth between different computers for different things, which was a lot of fun. And, I miss those good old days. And so, I had all that stuff going up in that general direction. And at that point in time, I started doing that. And then the only problem I had with Ubuntu is I really liked the layout of Windows, where you have the start menu, you have the taskbars, basically the stuff I talk about in my videos. I'm like, first I actually find a plugin that gives you that basic functionality for Ubuntu, because I didn't know Cinnamon existed at that time. And okay, it's clunky, but okay, it works. And then I find Linux Mint. I'm just like, and I tested it first with a live key on my one laptop that I was going to install Ubuntu on really quick. I think I bought it. I think I installed Ubuntu on it, and then I tested out in that weekend. I wiped that laptop, threw Linux Mint on it, and that's been my main production builds ever since on every device that supports Linux Mint. So that's kind of the end of my story. Let me jump into some comments, because we did get a $1 Rumble rant over on Rumble. Thank you, Devoured Eagle. I first tried Mint when I was in high school. At the time, it was pretty basic. I was having issues with my Windows XP PC, so I took a chance and wiped it out and installed Ubuntu. Very good. See, just one over there on Twitch. We have one over there on D Live. Greetings. Nobody's chatting with me.
XP was a malware collection device.
Yeah, for sure. We have 28 currently on YouTube. We have 18 currently on Odyssey. 19 currently on Rumble. Really, Rumble's even beating Odyssey? Wow. Rumble, you're getting good. Rumble's getting good. All right. YouTube comments. Diversity is our greatest asset, unless you're trying to avoid electric. That's right. Pseudo apt. Hello, Mr. Baba. How's it going? I'm finding a lot of changes with OS and software are causing me to lose my love for computing. I'm with you. I hate it when they change. Like, the latest thing is I upgraded, since I had the Raspberry Pi build that allows me to split Wi-Fi, I upgraded my Endeavor OS and my Manjaro OS at the same time, get the new version of Evolution. Oh, they decided to move the send and receive buttons up into the title bar. And I first thought I had accidentally done something. I'm like, what the hell? And it's so annoying. It's like, it doesn't change the functionality. Whatever, I'll get. But it's like, I didn't ask. And this is why I like sticking with one distro and like in like Debian systems, because they just don't change. I don't want my OS to change unless I'm have a new computer and reinstalling something. Then you can change something on me. That's fine.
I'm a little different. When I use Kmail as my email application, but I very rarely use any of the buttons that are really big on the top bar. I use keyboard navigation. If I can manage keyboard navigation, I will use it for everything. So
yeah. That's the name of cannabis strains, Raspberry Pi for the nerds. I don't know anything about that. The only Raspberry Pis I have around here are all the computers stuck to my walls. Triskel, Free Software Foundation certified distro. I have not. I don't know. I might have to play around with Triskel. I think I've looked at it. Does it have like the triple little logo thing? I think I've looked at it before, but I can't say I've done much.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
see.
the one I'm thinking about. It's really kept up to date. It's their version of Debian, basically, only with all of the binary or non-free applications removed, and there is no support for any proprietary of any kind. And they want it that way. And clearly, there are a few users who also want it that way. And that's the great thing about Linux, that there is a wide variety of distributions. So if you really don't care, you just want things to work, then almost anything will work. Just find something that you like. But if you are the one that really wants software freedom, and that is more important than having things work, then something that the Free Software Foundation recommends is a good way to go. And they have several distributions that they can recommend who works in a variety of ways.
Stumbot. I don't know if I can read this one out loud. Just got to Linux back in the day when me and my mate were driving around town one summer doing bad things to bank things with a portable thingy. Okay, I hope you're out of the statute of limitations for that confession. Funny thing is, for me, I don't really like Windows-based desktops. Even vanilla Cinnamon KDE prefer Ubuntu's desktop looks. Hey, that's cool, you know. What's your thoughts on things like Budgie and stuff like that, which is very much. Shadow says Linux Mint is very boring, and that's good. I was going to say, very boring. When are you trying to stab me in the heart? And he said it's good. All right, so that's good. Librem 5 review. It's usable as a phone. Camera's bad. Bluetooth headsets you can forget about. Nothing rebooting a lot. Needs rebooting a lot. 6-hour battery life. Yikes. Yikes. Holy, that's bad. The first cell phone I ever had a longer than 6-hour battery life. All right, let's play Paul Harvey and tell us the rest of the story. Salve, let's start with you because you're on my screen right now and your camera's working.
Dating yourself.
So what is the next step?
Just anything else about your journey to Linux?
Oh,
Anything
yeah,
else you want to say? This is the rest
So
of the story.
my first distribution, my first try was SUSE 5.2 in 1998 sometime. And I don't remember if I had the internet connection back then, but it was around the time before I got my first internet connection. So going to the internet asking for help wasn't readily available, and there wasn't a lot of forums back in the day that was known to people. So I got it installed, and the system froze repeatedly. And after a few hours of it continually freezing, I thought to myself, screw this, I'm going back to Windows. And I don't remember if I had the Windows 98 at that point, but I went back to Windows. And I talked to a friend the next week in church that I have tested it and what my experiences were. And he said that, but if you have just pressed Control Alt and F1, then you could have. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And the next week when he came to me with a book, this one.
Yeah.
The Complete
your camera's
Idiot's Guide to
frozen.
Linux.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, there it is.
So-
Yep. Complete Idiot's Guide to Linux. There you go.
Yeah.
Once the shit it's fading you out, you're disappearing into the background.
Yeah, I'm losing myself to Linux. So.
What order are you up? Are you a predator? What's going on here?
And it's not that this book was made in printed in 97 or 98, and it comes with Caldera Open Linux 1.3, and I used that for a month or two testing it, and I'm gonna manage to get on the internet finally and so on. But I don't remember what, but something was. I had only one computer. So after a while, I went back to Windows. I liked to game back in those days, but I remember liking it. And then the there was an article about Linux becoming easy for people to use. Corel had a distribution out, and at the point that I was reading it, they had the version 1.2, which became also the last version before Microsoft bought them and told them to stop doing that. I had that for almost a year in a dual boot with Windows 98, and it worked fine. And after a while, in 2005, I think, in the spring, Richard Stallman had a talk in Trondheim at the university, and my friend who gave me that book invited me to one of the big study halls, and he talked about how important it was to have the freedom to do what you want, not just having the things work, but to be able to do what you want if you want to do it. And since that day, I became a free software advocate and not just a Linux user.
Yeah, there you go. That's the rest of the story. Ivan, let's give us the rest of your story.
All right, yeah. I'll just take it from when I actually really started using it. Is like back in 2014, I just went crazy and just started replacing the OSs on my machines, because at the time Windows 7 was good and it was decent, but I moved over and starting with Linux Mint, not realizing the grand scope of distros that are out there. So I started using it and started moving all my stuff over, and keeping all my data local and not putting anything out on the internet anywhere. And and then I did that for a couple of years, and then I got into the Raspberry Pi. So I've got my first one right here that I was helping a guy that was designing a Minecraft server to be run on one of these things, and he needed help testing. So I basically took that as I need help with the QA type stuff. So I jumped in on it, and I helped him for a couple of years, and then it went stale. And plus the whole Microsoft debacle regarding ownership. So I took it offline, and I had my own servers over here that I was doing for my own, and I retired those, repurposed 2 of them. I've got 4 altogether. And this one is being my first. I just keep it up on the shelf just to display it, and I actually have that software on the SD card. Cool. So it's like my dedicated, that's my, we called it Craft Bean, because it's built off Raspbian Lite. And so I just kept that, and so I just keep all of my personal and business typey stuff on the Linux side, and it's been working out fantastic. And I try to keep the Windows 7 like experience on Linux Mint, and reading up on the different distros, stuff like that, and ultimately making the decision that Linux Mint works best for my application, and it's really easy to use, and I don't have to dive in too deep if I don't want to. So I just kind of trickle around the surface, and I'll dip my head under on occasion just to kind of peek around.
Yeah, Linux is becoming so easy. You don't really need to do complicated things.
Yeah, and I get to the point of understanding, being like, okay, well, if you want, stupid easy type stuff, you could do Windows, you could do Mac OS, whatever, But and it's like if somebody is hacking or whatever, and they really want something that belongs to me, well, if I'm on Linux, then I had I kind of figured it out to be like, well, Windows, let's say, is hackable almost like you can cut a cut the wrong way on a muffin. And with Linux, you really kind of sort of have to know what you're doing and exactly what you're looking for. So it's like, to add a little confusion to the hacking, to the ordinary everyday hacker who loves Visual Basic. So I keep that for that, and Windows for the fun, unimportant stuff, such as YouTube. But
I won't even trust Windows with that, because they're just in cahoots. It's like, I don't want Windows to know what I'm doing over there either.
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of business agreement going on behind closed doors.
Yeah, for sure.
But I just do my thing, and I run my couple of file servers on my Raspberries, and I've got my my Mint book that I can look at a process monitor on those raspberries to make sure they're alive and doing something.
Okay.
And and I just do my day-to-day stuff.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Dan, final. What's the rest of your story? Paul Harvey it.
Paul Harvey it. Okay.
For you young guys that don't know about Paul Harvey, famous was it NPR, I think, guy who
he did short stories on AM radio.
Short things, and then he'd always end, and now the rest of the story.
Yeah.
The rest of the story.
That's right.
Back in like 2014, I believe, I kept hearing around that time about this word Ubuntu floating around everywhere, especially on the internet. So I looked into that and I'm thinking, okay, Ubuntu. So I went and downloaded me a copy of Ubuntu, threw it on an old machine. I had an old 32-bit when I had in the corner over here and played with it for a while. But the problem with it was it had GNOME for a desktop or Unity. I don't know what Ubuntu 14 whatever came with. I forgot. But
I think that was Unity, I think.
Yeah, I had a tablet that I was using a lot, and I boot this thing up and I kept wanting to push the screen to open things instead of the keyboard. And so I put it away, went back to Windows for a while, and I had to use Windows for work at that time. Well, it came up to the time, where Windows 7 was going to expire. I was going to leave the workforce and retire, and with Windows 7 going to the wayside, I got an early copy of Windows 10. I went to install it, and it showed me the end user agreement and asked me to accept it. So, like Tom, I read it, and I had the same reactions he did. I ain't putting up with all this telemetry junk and blah 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 and blah 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 blah. And so I decided there's got to be a better choice. I'm going to go back and look at more Linux. So I started digging around on the internet and found this thing called Linux Mint, and I installed it, and I liked it for a while. And then I started kind of blending in with the rest of the Linux people and joining in with some of the groups. And there was this group that did a Saturday night show called Big Daddy Linux, and we would have these things called distro challenges. Yeah. So every week you downloaded a distro, you put it in your machine, you looked at it and stuff like that, and you came back next Saturday and you kind of explained your experience to them. So that was the bulk of my distro hopping. And then all of a sudden I decided this is too much baloney going from distro to distro, and I got to settle on just one distro type because each distro family has its own package managers and command line stuff and all that other stuff. Let's just settle down to a small group. So I chose the Debian type error things to settle on, and here I am. I got a fully functional machine. Everything is in it. I only have Windows on a hard drive in a drawer over here and on the virtual machine. Most of the time I can take care of things with the virtual machine. And you do still have to have a copy of Windows laying around to update your Garmin. Like my new Brother printer I bought last summer, I put in the Windows drivers in the virtual machine. It wanted a firmware update. So I'm like, oh, okay, having Windows around is useful. So, over the course of this past year, I've joined the Peppermint team as a tester to test out stuff that they build and look at it and help them fix bugs and stuff like that in it. And they've been really nice to me, and I've had a great time working with them. They're a great bunch of guys. If you have questions and if you want to speak with any of them, they're very pleasant to deal with on SourceForge or any one of their media platforms that they use. But yeah, it does everything I wanted to do that Windows used to do. I just had to slowly migrate my way of thinking and the way of software doing. Yeah, I put Steam in this thing. I got a ton of modern games, not old ones. Um, I use Lutris too for some of them because I like to go to GOG once in a while. And if I feel there's a game that Lutris can cover, I can find enough information on it, I would get a DRM free game. So if Steam went off the grid or something like that, I could still have a few games that I paid money for to play.
Yeah.
But this machine, when I put it back together a few weeks ago, was every bit as hard as putting a new Windows install together because you install Steam. Then for all your games, you got to put all your command line parameters for each game in each box and select the Proton version it ran on. So you got to keep a running list of that stuff. The Lutris setup, I just made a simple screen recorder and went through the whole thing what everything was set up with.
Yeah.
So I could put that back together. You got to put your virtual box back together and import your virtual machines, your Mango HUD if you're using that, your game mode. You got to get all this extra stuff, And it is a lot of work to put together identical Windows machine, but when you're done, it's yours. You put in the work and you own it.
Yeah. Without a giant EULA.
Yeah, without a giant EULA. But yeah, I had the same reaction time you just described when you were describing it. When I'm reading this EULA and all the things that Microsoft owns, when you install this in your computer and the telemetry and all that, I stopped right there.
Yeah. Rick, what's the rest of your story?
Well, the rest of my story, my mic works.
It's a little quiet.
Have it
But
on.
Okay, I dumped my headphones. I'm on Bluetooth hearing aids. And anyway, backtracking a bit, I do recall I had a copy of Red Hat, and I tried it for a while, and I had trouble installing it because it asked me what the refresh rate on my monitor is. So I have no idea. So that was kind of a dead end there. But fast forward. When I pretty well settled on Linux Mint Cinnamon, and you talk about sold some of your books. Well, I followed Joe Collins, and he's back in the works now, and he recommended a couple of books, and so I bought them. It's called the Linux Command Line.
Nice.
And I use that for reference. I Google too, but the other one is How Linux Works. So I use that as reference once in a while. But I had the same sort of experience Dan had about my games. Well, I pretty well settled on Linux Mint 20.3 Cinnamon, and I plan on switching to 21 eventually, but again, I'm going to have to take a record of all my games and settings. But what I did is, Dan, I took a print screen, a screen capture with one of the screen capture utilities, and I just saved them to a file and put them on a USB stick so they're
Nice.
safe to reinstall. And I just go through the list of installing all the programs.
I made a spreadsheet that has all the Steam ID numbers for the games, because when you go fishing for those games on the hard drive, they're not always labeled. There's the one common area where it's got the labeled part, and then it's got the app area where it's got just the Steam numbers for the games. It actually got game content and stuff saved in it.
Yeah, that's unusual. I thought if you have your login credentials, if you install a new machine and you just log in, it just downloads all your games, doesn't it?
Well, first of all, I'm on DSL, so downloading a game a second time would be extremely annoying for me.
Oh, okay.
So I have all my Steam games on a separate drive, and Steam, believe it or not, the Linux version of Steam, you can hook up an external drive to it.
Oh,
so I got a 2 terabyte drive with games on it.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. Well, I'm
You know,
in internet heaven because my grandkids moved in, and they forced me to jump from 80 download and 8 up to gigabit up and down.
Nice.
right.
They run a business, so I just click download. And
Yeah, it's
even
just
if we're
me here. I
gaming, I
can't
can't
see
tell.
paying that kind of money.
Well, they pay the bills, so
So when I want to get one of those 75 gigabyte size games, I have to like start it now, go watch some YouTube somewhere else or something, or go to bed, get up, and maybe by lunchtime the next day I'll have all of it.
boy, Dan, that reminds me of when I was on dial-up on 300 baud. You go to bed, and at noon the next day, your basic program would be downloaded.
Yeah.
If the
Netscape
connection
Navigator.
didn't drop out.
Remember those days? And then if you
Yes.
interrupted the call, it would abort. And then they came with Y modem. It would resume the download. That
Wow.
was wonderful. I felt
My
that
system was
great.
not that fancy. If I did not get that Netscape Composer by the morning, man, it was a resetting again. So,
Yeah.
although
so
those
now-
days I was in college, I probably could have downloaded it there. We had like the faster internet at the college, I guess.
But yeah,
Probably.
if you're using Lutris, they have similar settings and switches and everything in the Lutris app hub for your games. It works best if you use like simple screen recorder and just open every little thing for each game and just record the whole video of all your games. I only have 7 games in Lutris, so it's only made like a 15-minute video. And then, it's the same thing as using screenshot for maybe Steam. Matter of fact, if you just use simple screen recorder with Steam, and that's all you're going to do to open up your games and your properties for them, that works great too.
Yeah.
But I wanted a spreadsheet that had all the parameters and the Steam ID, because sometimes I have to go to ProtonDB and I want to make sure I have, even though the game's got the similar name, it might be the extended version, the regular version or whatever, but you got to kind of match it up with the Steam ID thing, the number, to get the proper ProtonDB page.
Oh, okay.
And if you're digging around in your hard drive for stuff, it's handy to have that happen too,
Yeah.
have that there.
Another couple of things I've used since switching to Linux. I have a Raspberry Pi in the corner off in the bedroom, and I use KeyPass. And Tom, I'm switching to KeyPass XC soon. Yeah, thanks for that video.
I must be the only one here that don't have a Pi.
XC. I was surprised at the nice settings. The integration is much nicer.
XC is they've taken that development that KeyPass stopped with and moved on to much better things.
I don't know what I would do with the Raspberry Pi. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 laptops around here, and most of them have some version of Peppermint OS on them.
Yeah, I mean, to do a rundown of mine, I think I have 4 or 5 of them built into the walls of this van. So
well, yeah, you're trying to go compact.
Yeah, one of them
power.
is actually my web development computer. One
You
of them,
want a computer that runs off a cigarette lighter.
well, yeah, I mean, there's
Well,
times
I
they
have-
do. One of them is a box that runs the K-word application that I can't say, which by the way, tomorrow allegedly our last community strike falls off, and so we might actually have chapters returned to our videos. Isn't that awesome?
Yay.
On you YouTube guys? One of my Raspberry Pis is a NAS. That might be something you do, Dan, if you want to share files back and forth on your network easier. That's a good use. Yeah. One of them is a PHP server, and one of them is a retro gaming console.
There you go.
Well, I have
and
another
then
full
one of
computer
them just
connected
floats around
to
for
the
whatever I need.
TV.
What's that?
Hey guys, you see the picture on my monitor?
Yeah.
Yep.
That Raspberry Pi in the corner. DistroTube about a month ago suggested all the different distros that people are downloading. I installed, I think, Manjaro, and I installed transmission on that machine. And I installed a bunch of distros on it. I stuck in a USB stick for extra ISOs. And I just leave that run 24/7.
Nice.
So people have people.
Yeah, that's one good way to use a big internet connection.
Yeah. So, and I have another Raspberry Pi in the bedroom. I keep my KeyPass file backup.
Yep.
And I wrote some scripts that Joe Collins suggested. And I pulled, latest video, he had a backup program of your data called XBT.
Yes.
And pretty extensive. And he trimmed that down to just BU backup. But I stole a whole bunch of scripts out of there. He said I could. So I did, and I made my own programs, my scripts to do backups. So if I lose my main machine, all my passwords and stuff are backed up locally. So that's what I use my Raspberry Pi. But
I have this thing where I have so many hard drives laying around here. It's getting to the point now where I have so many SSDs. I've kind of got into the point where I have extras of those because my new machine setup here uses the NVMe drives.
Right.
Yeah. Anthony reminds us that yes, the YouTube AI has heard that my strike is about to fall, so they're going to find an excuse to give me another one. So, if we disappear off of YouTube for another week or two, just reminder, we are doing the live streams also on Rumble and Odyssey, Twitch, and DLive, and the videos will also go up onto BitChute as well. So if we do get booted, go ahead and do that. Of course, if you're around, no, I don't run around breaking policies. I might be one of the 200 people who've actually read YouTube's terms of service and their community guidelines. I actually completely understand them, and I have never done anything that violates the community guidelines. It's just that YouTube makes crap up, and they're like, "You're talking about that K-word application, community strike. Why? Community strike. You're violating our community guidelines. Where? You're violating our guidelines. Where? Can you give me a timestamp? No. Okay, then.
You're asking for a reason. Another week.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't confuse me with the facts, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then another one was the H-word application that comes on Linux Mint, which, by the way, uses the exact same feed as YouTube itself. Literally, they say that I'm teaching people how to circumvent paywalls. The application does nothing more than display the things that are completely public domain. In fact, it was explicitly selected because it uses only public domain resources. And
they have it in their app store.
Yeah. No, they don't have the H word in their app store. They have the K word in their app store. Yes, I actually got a community strike for teaching people how to use an application that you can download on the Google Play Store. Yep.
Yeah,
I got another one for talking about the Plex server, although they reversed that one before I even argued it. And then, of course, the other one was because of that stuff that is now known as a fraudulent issue that was actually me speaking in my actual academically trained professional background as being an expert in, and they community struck that one as well. I'm just on their naughty list, so, Would the H word be the same word as mesmerize? Yes, indeed. That is the H word. I actually got a community strike for talking about the H word application that is installed on Linux Mint that is synonymous with to mesmerize.
Yeah. So going back to remember this was 20 years ago now. I had Red Hat 7.1 installed on one of my machines. And after a while, I trusted it enough because I found an IP chains script that was people used before IP tables that set up a secure firewall because I knew that I didn't know Linux enough to trust it to run it as my gateway. So, but after a while, I got so I wanted a few applications to test, and I remember one of them needed a newer Qt version. So I went to the Qt website and I downloaded the tarball that was prominently displayed. And I remember it used 12 hours compiling. And but after compiling it and installing it, then the new program also compiled and it worked. So I remember telling that to IRC on a channel, on a Norwegian channel that I did that, and one of them said, one of them asked, why didn't you download the RPM file? They have an RPM file.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to get going here. We're like way over time, and I do want to save a little bit of power as I can. I see my refrigerator's going at the same time.
Start pedaling
again.
that bike.
That's right. That's right. I got to start pedaling the bike there. So tomorrow, weekly news roundup. I hope we have enough news. I'm like, there's like very few articles in my list still. So I'm gonna do a tough time doing that. We are premiering tonight on the Christian channel. We are premiering the first of the videos on Hosea. I cannot tell you how long this series is going to go because we are actually still doing the Bible study. It is a long minor prophet. There's like 14 chapters, but if you want to follow along on the Christian stuff, I'm going to go ahead and drop the link for that in all of these platforms. Of course, it will be on the alt tech places, probably either late tonight or tomorrow. So, of course, the Christian channel is also on Odyssey, Rumble, and BitChute as well. That will cross over a little bit after that's up, but you can do that. Tomorrow, weekly news, a roundup. We might get something up there for the weekend as well. I'm hoping, it's my goal to get a video out for Saturday. I have a couple ideas on my desk that I'm going to see if I can put together the information for. Oh yeah, Lemon Heap over there on the Odyssey chat. I can't read this chat, but if you guys want to hear about all of the fun things I get committee struck for, Lemon Heap just mentioned all those words. The P word, the K word, the H word's not in there, but you know.
Hey Tom, a quick question. You're still in Arizona?
Yeah, I'll stick around after we end the stream, though. We can chat about where precisely when you know the whole world is not listening.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm aware of that.
Oh, the J word. Yes, I don't think I actually, believe it or not, I did not get a community strike for my J word video. I'm really completely surprised, and that might be the next one they do, because that's, I mean, I have a good tutorial on that as well. So. But anyway, we're going to wrap this one up here. So thanks for hanging out, everybody. And we will see you guys tomorrow for the weekly news roundup, if not on the Christian channel tonight. So we will catch you guys next time.